This video contains elements that are not suitable for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised.
I've been dreading this review for a long while now. As I'm sure you are aware, I am not one to bend to popular opinion. If I disagree with the general consensus, I'll tell you. But my opinion on this season is not one of those occasions. This season doesn't need me bashing on it because it's already considered one of the worst seasons in the entire show's history. It's not just a bad season, it's a legend among bad seasons. It's the bad season people think of when they think of the bad seasons of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. And while other seasons before and after have a polarizing reputation at most, there are people who will defend those seasons. Not so with this season. It was terrible then, and it's terrible now. Let me make this perfectly clear. I don't just hate revisiting the episodes from this season, I hate thinking about them. If I had my way, I would just skip this season in my review and not think about it twice. I would have said these seasons were terrible and just move on. But alas, I have a job to do. So now, we come to the series that many fans have called the worst ever in the show, Series 15. Oh God, what did I get myself into? There was a very short airing gap between Series 14 and 15. Between November 2010 and February 2011, there were no new episodes airing in the United Kingdom, marking the shortest gap ever between two series of Thomas and Friends by 5 months. By contrast, the longest gap was Series 2 and 3, 5 years. 2011 was expected to be a big year. A new special was coming out this fall. It was Wilbur Audrey's centenary, and there was the report of a new Railway Series book coming out as well. The latter was definitely something to feel happy about, but I'll come to that when we get to Series 16, but for now I want to talk about Series 15. It premiered throughout March 2011, and between this and the two series prior, that meant we had 60 episodes within the span of 15 months. A likely reason is so that Milkshake could re-air as much CGI Thomas content as possible, a strategy that was later used for the Bob the Builder reboot, but one topic at a time, please. Chronologically, Series 15 followed on from Day of the Diesels, yet the newbies barely did anything significant until the second half, and even then, the episodes were utter shit. Coincidentally, 15 episodes out of Series 15 were all penned by Sharon Miller, her most to date. Combining all of her efforts across Series 9 to 16, she penned a whopping 66 episodes, and exactly 2/3 of them were from the Nitrogen era alone. That's pretty alarming if you ask me. That's more than Davey Moore, more than Andrew Brenner, even more than Paul Larson. The only three writers that topped Sharon in terms of quantity were Wilbur Audrey himself, Bert Allcroft, and David Mitton coming out on top. The only 5 episodes Miller didn't write were Percy's New Friends, Spencer the Grand, Kevin the Steamy, Percy the Snowman, and the infamous Wonky Whistle. Although, in general, Series 15 was so poor that you might be easily forgiven for thinking she didn't write them, least of all Wonky Whistle. Speaking of that episode, Wonky Whistle is so infamous among the fandom because, well, let me show you.
I'm sure my whistle isn't wonky. I must race to Farmer McColl's. Farmers!
Yep, that one scene single-handedly brought the episode into infamy, and fans have ranked it the worst of the show, even more so than Edward Strikes Out, which I don't really understand looking back. Yes, what Thomas did was incredibly dangerous and stupid. Yes, the workman could have potentially gotten killed as he set off, and yes, Thomas was of course an idiot for not listening. But did you really expect anything less by this point? Considering how often Thomas acted like a dumbass over the course of the Nitrogen era, him acting like that was to be expected by this point. Not only that, if you took out that moment altogether, then Wonky Whistle becomes a run-of-the-mill bad episode, and I doubt people would have talked about it that much. Writer Neil Benn has even said that the final episode we got was very different from what he originally intended, so who knows how it could have gone. But then again, very important sheep from Series 19 was this episode done better, suggesting that Wonky Whistle, like a lot of other episodes from the Nitrogen era, had potential that was quagmired by the formula at the time. So is Wonky Whistle really the worst episode ever? When it first aired, I would have agreed with the majority, but now, not even close. Don't get me wrong, I still consider it to be a bad episode, but the show has had way worse episodes before and since.
What? You don't rank Wonky Whistle as the worst episode?
Oh, great. the bitch is back to complain again.
What the hell is wrong with you? Not ranking Wonky Whistle as the worst episode of the whole show is a likely sign that you might actually like...
Oh, come now, Matt. You should have seen that coming from a mile away. Look, I'm not saying fans shouldn't hate on Wonky Whistle, but calling it the worst episode of the show? Come on. I apologize if I sound condescending, but saying it's the worst of this entire 24-series show is not really much of an opinion. It's just repeating what's been said to death already. Say what you want about what I've said, calling Rusty to the Rescue the worst episode of the show, but at least I tried to think outside the box. Wonky Whistle isn't the worst episode of the Nitrogen era, let alone Series 15 in my eyes. I could name at least 10 episodes that are worse, but more on that next time. But Wonky Whistle does feature everything people hate about the Nitrogen era, like, say, annoying rhyming, nonsensical alliteration, the Free Strikes formula, dangerous actions, Thomas being a brain-dead idiot, the list goes on. If people want to claim Wonky Whistle's the worst episode of the show, then that's fine. But if it's not the worst of Series 15 to me, what is? If we're talking about episodes concerning their messages, one that really sticks out to me is James to the Rescue.
You are a steam tram. Steam trams can't be rescue engines.
That line from James right there implies that you're only useful if you're normal. Seriously, this episode sends out an ableist message, and speaking as someone who's on the autism spectrum, I find that incredibly insulting. Not just to myself, but possibly to young autistic fans of the show. This era has sent out discriminatory messages before, but James to the Rescue is easily the worst offender of the bunch. That episode just gets worse and worse with ableist attitudes rearing their ugly heads in recent times. Then there's Kevin Destimi, or as it has come to be known, the episode that came before Wonky Whistle, and that's got far worse messages and implications. Basically, play around in a dangerous environment and you won't get in trouble for it. A storyboard suggested that Dukes or Handel and Peter Sam would appear, but unfortunately, or rather, fortunately, that didn't happen. The latter two would eventually return in CGI the following year, while Duke remains missing in action to this day. Then there's Fiery Flynn, or should I say, the anti-fireman Sam of Thomas episodes. This is an episode that portrays firefighters as incompetent idiots. Just what else needs to be said? Oh wait, I know.
His firebox was on fire.
Yeah, I'm sure that even back in 2011, you were all shocked by this line. You guys do know that a firebox is supposed to be on fire, right? Unless the firebox had collapsed, how is that even an emergency? A firebox has a fusible plug, a metal cylinder, which serves as a safety device against low water levels in a steam engine's boiler. Should it fail, it can result in boiler damage, possibly leading to an explosion if left untreated. Fiery Flynn is so infamously bad, in some cases possibly more so than Wonky Whistle, that it called for a change to get Thomas back on track again. And it did, but not for another 2 years.
I guess. But I still say Wonky Whistle is way worse!
Shut up, you moron! Now, as mentioned, Flynn just came off as stupid in the season 15 finale. This is behavior you'd expect from a firefighter, ignoring warnings, racing off before an announcement is finished, letting insults get to them, spraying water where there isn't an emergency, and he would act just as stupid in Race to the Rescue next series, and that's the episode that comes immediately after Fiery Flynn. It says a lot that Flynn acted more like a hero in Day of the Diesels than series 15 and 16 did. Sure, he did get much better in the Brenna era, for the most part, but the damage had very much been done at this point. I doubt Flynn is ever gonna live that down. Belle, meanwhile, is what I consider a lost opportunity. I really like her basis, the British Railway Standard Class 4 tank engine, and there's a lot that they could have done with her if she was given a proper chance. But the one time she got a starring role in Series 15, Big Belle just made her look overbearing and bullshit, although that episode was pretty forgettable in the long run. Since then, she's been a supporting character and barely had a chance to shine, or Mattel somehow forgot that she exists. Yeah, I know she was introducing the worst era of the show, but come on, she's a female firefighter for God's sake. There's so much you could do with making her a role model for little girls who would want to be firefighters in the near future. Den and Dart, I didn't really care much for them until the Series 19 episode of the same name, but from what we had seen even then, Den is a slow thinker, while Dart quickly explains what he's trying to say. It's fine and all, but not really a whole lot to work with there. But the development Den received in Series 19 was really good, so I can't complain much there. Oh, and in case anyone is asking, I won't be giving my thoughts on Paxton, Sydney, and Norman here since they were merely props rather than characters back then. I'll come to them when I get to Series 17. Meanwhile, even though he had been introduced in Series 5 and had been a background character for the next decade or so, for the first time ever, Butch the Breakdown Vehicle finally got to speak in the episode Stuck on You. Why it took him so long to give him a speaking role, I don't know, but at least he got something. Stuck on You wasn't the greatest episode of that era, but it was one of the more average at best ones, even having 2 strikes instead of 3. For the first time since Series 4, or 6 if we consider the Pack 2-parter, we had a mini-saga going on with the logging locos to start of the series. It wasn't that great a saga, but it was at least nice for Sharon Miller to try something that worked in the classic era, even though since then we've got a certain trilogy that's way better in terms of writing. Series 15 began production in November 2009. As explained, the first half of Series 15 was produced alongside the second half of Series 14, but before Day of the Diesels. This explains the abundance of the logging locos in both halves, appearing in 8 episodes total, and then 3 episodes afterward. And why we didn't see much of Flynn, Bell, Den, and Dart until the second half of Series 15. For every episode in this series, Thomas's name did not appear in any of the titles, and unless you actually read the descriptions, you'd never know he was the star in any of them. Series 15 was... No, it was trash when it came out, and it's trash upon rewatch. But at least we're almost at the end of the Nitrogen era, so surely things can get better from here, right?
I wish that were true, Zack.
What do you mean, Mike?
Well...
Here I go!
Gordon didn't laugh, but Cranky was surprised.
Hoist my hook! Who's making that noise?
Cranky dropped the crates of fireworks, and with a crash and a bang, the crates broke open.
Fuck!
Oh, jeez, he's cracked again. Somebody get Rachel over to calm him down!
Hard work gets you done, then the time to have some fun. Teamwork, work to share, that's the way to get you there. When you have the will, you can climb the highest hill.